Hey, what's up, guys? We have Nick Jain here. He is a CEO and a poker player. So how's it going, Nick? How you doing today?
I'm doing great. It's beautiful weather here in Philadelphia after a couple of days of really chilling, cold, and rain. So I'm really, really happy.
Cool. So yeah, can you tell us a little bit about yourself first, and then we'll go from there?
Sure. My name's Nick. I spent most of my career either being on Wall Street or being the CEO or co-CEO of a couple different companies across anywhere from trucking to shoes to most recently software. Grew up in a mix of Canada and India, but been in the US now for about 20 years, bouncing between both the West Coast and the East Coast. Oh, and I'm a dad of an 11-month-old. So that's kind of a fun new adventure I've been on in life recently.
All right, cool. Congratulations on that. So you mentioned before really quick that you have a software app for funeral homes, right? That's your newest venture, correct?
Correct. Yeah. So for the past like 5 or 6 years, I've been CEO of like established companies anywhere from 10 to $100 million in revenue. I recently left that to start a new piece of software that is for funeral homes. Yeah.
Okay, cool. So you kind of left the more corporate America to do kind of like your own thing. Is that correct? Would that be correct?
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. I've worked for big or medium-sized companies my entire career, some Fortune 500 companies, some more mid-sized companies. This is my first time trying to strike out and do something entrepreneurial. So it's a bit of a new adventure for me.
Okay, and then would I know of any of the big companies that were you CEO for
Sure.
those
So,
companies or more like
so not
consulting?
for the ones that I was CEO of, but I started my career working in places like McKinsey and Bain Capital, which are obviously very, very large companies. Went to business school at Harvard, so again, an established brand name. But the companies that I've run tend to be on the smaller side. So most recently, I was CEO of a software company called IdeaScale that makes a type of special social network or CRM for government organizations.
Okay, social network for government organizations. So like would it be like had like a social network just for their government
Exactly.
organization?
Yes, but not to post photos. The reason I say it's special, it's an innovation social network. So you can think of, if you think about Facebook or TikTok, you post a picture or video of your friend doing a silly dance, right? And then your friends like it and upvote it. Imagine replacing the silly photo with an idea for a new rocket ship or a new program that the TSA can run, or a new way to make your employees happy at a state department of transportation. So all these government organizations are thinking about how can they be better both internally and the way they interface with the public. And they used our social network to basically post their internal ideas about how they can deliver services better. And then people around that organization typically voted it up, voted it down, or said, hey, Micah, you have a pretty good idea, but how about we tweak it a little bit and make it a little bit better? So just like a social network allows you to interact with your friends on photos or videos, our social network allowed you to interact with them around ideas.
Okay. And then your newest venture, how is that working? Is it kind of like is it almost like trying to reshape the funeral business or is it kind of keeping it the
It's not
same?
quite that dramatic. So my newest venture is called Sacred Grounds, and it is a funeral home management software for small and independent funeral homes. So just to give you a context, right? And I'll try not to get too morbid, but there's like 9,000 funeral homes in the country. About two-thirds of them are owned by huge corporations that are publicly listed on the stock market, but there's like 2,000 that are owned by just small mom and pops. And unfortunately, most of them, the way, like if you show up, unfortunately, and you've had somebody die in your family, they basically write down on your on a piece of paper, stick in a filing cabinet, and mail it around a bunch. And that's really, really outdated and doesn't actually comply with the laws that they're required to follow. So what my software does is, if you were to show up at a funeral home and say, unfortunately, hey, my uncle has passed away, they can now enter that system in. They can enter all that information to a computer system. They can print the forms that they need to send to the government and request death certificates, and they can just make that all automated, all on a system. And the cool thing I'm really proud of is I made it free. So instead of paying 10,000 bucks a year for the software that they are currently paying for, which is literally like 20 to 30 years old, they can actually have modern software the way that works the way Facebook or TikTok or Google.com works.
Okay, and is this using AI?
So I used a little bit of AI to help build it, but there's no actual AI built into the software. The software is a very traditional form of software, just built way, way nicer than I think a lot of the legacy systems are. The way I
Okay.
would come for your audience, for those who remember Yahoo or Alta Vista or what the world was like before Google. This is Google to Alta Vista. Alta Vista still got the job done for search, but Google was so much better.
Okay, and you have an app out there. Would it be on, right? Do you have an
Correct.
app out
Yes.
there?
It's a website. It's a web app. So you access it through your browser at sacredgrounds.nickjain.com. But you can also, it's totally mobile friendly. So you could visit it via your Chrome or Safari browser off your phone, and it will work just like a native application. You don't download it through the store right now, and that's a conscious decision because most funeral homes really want to feel like they're in control rather than Apple or Google are in control of their data.
Okay, cool. And then I mean, I'm also interested in AI. So would you when somebody when I ask you the question is there AI involved? I mean, is it are we at a, like do you really feel like it actually AI is AI, or at this point I almost kind of feel like it's more of like a tool just like any other tool that just makes it maybe easier for people to do things like if I want to create an image, I can just type the image as opposed to, you see you kind of see what I'm saying? Like
Yeah. So I love AI and I can talk your ear off about AI as much as possible, but there's kind of two ways to think about AI. One is as a tool, the way you're talking about it, using it to generate an image or write an email or, hey, help me brainstorm what, it was just my wife's birthday yesterday. So, I brainstormed, hey, what gift should I get her, right? The way, chatting with ChatGPT or Gemini. But there's two other forms of AI that don't get as much news, or I think that the average person isn't thinking about. The second form of AI that most people aren't thinking about is thinking and decision making AI. The buzzword is agentic AI, and most people aren't interacting with it, but businesses are. And these are AIs that are out there with kind of digital eyes. They can see what's going on. They can absorb information, and then they can make a decision. And I'll give a silly example. I built an AI agent. What it does is it goes and reads Reddit, finds stuff that is interesting to or relevant to me, it actually writes up a response in my voice and response. So I didn't have to read the Reddit post. I didn't have to write it. I didn't have to post it. It did all of that automatically. And it's doing that for hundreds of posts a week. And then the third form is much more data
wow.
analysis. And that you'll see for like fraud analysis and like all the fraud analysis companies and banks are using that sort of technology.
So basically, if you want, and I've heard of this type of thing, and I've heard of people are doing this type of thing, where if you want it to automatically be basically posting in Reddit and responding in Reddit, it'll do that for you. I feel like I've seen something, and I've seen people reacting to it where, and it's not like yours is probably good, but this one wasn't great. It almost you could tell that it was like weird, and people were saying this sounds like AI or whatever, and like I've seen people recently, just yesterday, posting like a small or YouTube whatever, like a YouTuber's channel where I just made $10,000 in a month or whatever, blah blah blah, and then people would a lot of people were like downvoting him because I think it's kind of like why are you even bragging about this on here? Is it even true? But then like within the comments he was kind of replying to people and that even sounded somewhat fake. So it's kind of like, what would almost be the point to do this besides bragging or maybe gaining those like karma points or whatever? Um, you see what I'm saying? I mean, obviously, there's probably a
Yeah.
better point for you than these random
So
people doing it, but
I'll react like two ways. Number one, the quality of just the way I built my AI agent is much smarter. So it's actually pretty difficult to tell
yeah,
that it's AI versus a smart person saying it. That's number one. And I can talk about some of the ways I did that. Some of that's pretty technical, but some of it is also very simple saying, don't be promotional. Don't be the guy saying, hey, I made $10,000 by working 3 hours a week at home. Like, so there's some, basic prompt engineering plus some technical stuff there. But then there's second, you asked, why am I doing this if I'm not trying to sell anything? And so what my AI agent does is 95% of the time when let's imagine you post something on Reddit, like a question like, hey, how do I make a better burger? Right? 95% of the time, it's just going to say, Micah, here, you asked a really thoughtful question. Here, let me give you my advice on how Nick, would make a great burger. Okay. And it won't try and sell you anything. It won't try and recommend anything because Nick, have nothing. I don't do anything in the world of burgers. But in 5% of the time, let's imagine you're a funeral home director and you're not asking about embalming, but you're asking about, hey, how do I make my work more efficient? Then it'll say, hey, there's a couple different things you can do. And by the way, if you're interested, try out this tool that Nick built. So it's much more subtle and much less in your face. And 95% of the time, it's not trying to even promote anything at all. It's much more natural the way a human being would, right? Most good salespeople aren't trying to sell you every time they talk to you. They try and sell you 1 to 5% of the time they talk to you. And that makes it a much more comfortable interaction.
So basically, ultimately, you are trying to promote something, but it's not in your face promotion. It's just if it's a legitimate reason to promote it or whatever.
Right.
But ultimately,
I
that's
spent
the goal by even doing this, right? On Reddit.
Well, there were two goals for me. Number one, this was the first agent I built. I wanted to learn, hey, how do I build a thinking agent that's really, really high quality? Like the version one of the agent was super promotional. It was obviously written by AI. It was terrible, and people were calling it out. So by building it, I learned how to build a good, proper thinking AI agent. And then the second thing, you're absolutely right. It is trying to promote something, but it's trying to do so only where somebody's literally asking for the product. So if you're not asking for apples, it's not going to try and sell you anything. If you're literally asking for funeral home software or funeral home, making a funeral home more efficient, then it will very, very gently suggest it, not actually try and sell it to you.
Yeah, and that makes sense. That's like the same as if anybody, a person does it and it's just an honest kind of response to it. Yeah, exactly. Like if somebody's really looking for something and you want to give them a good, and I've seen that a good amount of time. It's fine. Yeah, it's obviously fine to, in my mind, it's fine to be promoting something if somebody's looking for something or if it comes in an honest kind of way.
Mhm.
Yeah, so I mean that's a big. I'm really interested in AI. So that's a big. So would you kind of say that the LLM, the ChatGPT or the Gemini at this point is really, they call it AI, and I see why they call it AI because it almost appears to be AI, but that's not. That's more of kind of like a tool. It's basically scraping the web and then feeding you information. It'll give you an essay or whatever. Whereas with this agentic AI, which is what you're doing, it's more like actual AI where it's like literally kind of having like realistic conversations. Or do you think the LLM really is just legit? Do you see what I'm saying? But because when I first heard about artificial intelligence back with Terminator 2 or whatever, you're kind of thinking an actual artificial intelligence, like a like I don't really necessarily say it has to think on its own, but something like you or me where it kind of thinks on its own and is doing it. Whereas now I feel like AI is kind of almost anything is AI that is like, but is it really AI? You know what I mean? And it sounded like
Sure.
you
So
answered that by saying the agentic AI is the AI, but where like the LLM
it's
are,
not quite Terminator. So there's
yeah,
lots of
not
different
full on
frameworks.
Terminator level, but yeah.
There's lots of different ways people define what is AI. And I'll say there's kind of three levels, right? One is a tool that you just talk to. That's the just the pure LLM, ChatGPT, Gemini, whatever. You ask it a question, gives you an answer from somewhere, right? And I say somewhere because it can actually pull the information from the internet, its database, or something called a RAG database as well. That's the level one. That's what most people are thinking about when they think ChatGPT. Level two is agentic AI, where it is not actually thinking in some deep spiritual, like has a soul way, but is able to make decisions and interact with the real world. So that, and the three things it needs to do are absorb information from the world. So it needs to be able to see or eat data from somewhere. Number two, it needs to be able to think about it. Number three, it needs to be able to react to it. And all when I talk about agentic AI, that's really the level two that we have achieved. It's very possible for almost anybody to go out with a little bit of coding experience and build an agentic AI. The third level, which it doesn't seem we're there from a technology point of view, is an AI that realizes, hey, it's alive, it's thinking, it's Terminator, it has feelings and goals that were not given to it outside, and that's kind of a whole different level. There was actually some really interesting research released by Anthropic, the guys who make Claude, just a couple of days ago, that said they were able to find that an AI was able to introspect, which is one of the meaning it was able to think about what it was feeling or thinking, which is the first kind of step towards having a true level three AI. We're not there yet, but because it was only right about 20%, it only introspected 20% of the time, but that's still pretty impressive.
Yeah, for sure. And do you think we'll get to that point where it actually will become conscious like you or I, where it actually feels and has its own emotions? I was just listening yesterday to, I don't know if you know who like Bernardo Castrip is, and he was talking about his view, which is analytic idealism as opposed to materialism. With materialism, I think we just kind of think that like it's all just the brain structure, and if we can recreate that, right? Do you view things that way, being a materialist, or more like an idealist, where everything is kind of not everything is conscious, but everything is kind of like a mental state. You see what I'm saying? And do you think we'll get to the point where the AI even become fully conscious like you or I?
Sure. So I would say I'm a big believer philosophically in the ability of people, of human beings as a species, to build really cool technology that exceeds our own wildest expectations, right? Just the notion of like us having computers or the internet would be unimaginable godlike power to somebody 50 years ago, right? Or 100 years ago. So yes, I do believe at some point we are going to hit some sort of true thinking AI. I don't know whether that's 5 years from now or 50 years from now or 1,000 years from now, but I think we'll get there. I will say that there is some evidence that the way we're trying to get there right now is hitting a point of diminishing returns. Specifically, all of the LMs that we're talking about are using this technology called transformers. And it looks like we've started to hit the point of diminishing returns. It's like when you go to the gym, you get a lot of gains the very first week, but then by month 7 or 8, you're not getting a lot of gains. And the technology that's powering LLMs called transformers are quickly starting to level off. That's why ChatGPT 5 was not a huge leap over ChatGPT 4. Whereas ChatGPT 3, which is the one that OpenAI became really famous for 3 years ago, was way, way better than ChatGPT 2, which could barely respond in sentences.
Yeah. So I mean, I know this is getting like kind of way out there, but would you say that you're more of a materialist or more of a idealist if you know about that kind of stuff?
I know what materialism is. I don't know what idealism is.
Idealism is, I don't know. Do you know about Bernardo Kastrup? Or do you know who Bernardo Kastrup is?
Yeah, yes. Well, I know the materialism side, and I've heard the name, but go on.
So he came out with analytic idealism. I don't want to go too far down this road just because it would take forever. But basically, it's not panpsychism where everything is conscious, but it's like we are literally living inside of consciousness. So basically, the universe is one big giant kind of, I guess you could say, brain, and like we're just kind of like agents with inside the brain. Um, I suppose it doesn't really matter. I can't. It doesn't matter too much on the whole AI thing. But would you say you're more of a materialist, where it's like I'm a real physical structure here that you're looking at, or would you say it's more kind of like a that life and you and I are kind of like more like kind of like almost like a simulation, like kind of like a computer program?
Sure. Okay, so it's funny. I've got a background in theoretical physics and math, and we studied this just from a fun thought exercise point of view. And I don't know what I would say I'm a materialist. I believe I'm here. I believe I'm some sort of machine of molecules and photons and energy and radiation that exists as me as the person. And when I go away at the end of my life, I'm gone. Obviously all the matter returns somewhere to the universe, but I don't know what's going to happen to that.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Because of time, I would be interested in learning more about or hearing more about that, but we only have so much time. So, in terms of the AI thing, are we to the point yet where, like you said, you built yourself an agentic AI? Are we to the point where I can use? I know like OpenAI does have agentic AI, but would you say that it's to the point now where it's like useful? Like, am I able to go and use OpenAI? I think they're pretty sure they do have agentic AI, right? Where I'm able to use
Well,
that.
what they're calling agentic and like making little apps for you, they're almost like little automation apps, the little on their little app store or agent store. And same with Claude or Gemini, right? Those are not agents in the way that I think business professionals are thinking about agents, because an agent has to be able to handle a wide variety of situations. Think of it like a 12-year-old, right? It can handle a lot of situations. The good news is like you can buy some of the stuff from ChatGPT or Gemini directly, but for the really cool stuff, you can't buy it right now. You have to go build it for stuff that handles interesting use cases, right? Like for the Reddit agent, I tried to find if, hey, did ChatGPT already build this, or is this something that I can pay somebody $5 and they've already built? And they hadn't, so I had to build it myself from scratch. And we're still at kind of the point in our maturity of this technology where a lot of stuff has to be built by the individual. But the good news is you can use AI to code other AI.
Yeah, and so you actually know how to build AI then.
Well, two levels. Yes, I could build a true, like, very, very dumb version of ChatGPT. if I wanted to. But for my Reddit agent, I'm actually using Google's Gemini as the brains behind it. So I built all the wiring and body, but then I plugged in a version of Gemini's model to actually power the brain, because I'm never going to be able to build an AI as smart as Google or ChatGPT or Anthropic.
Yeah. Well, first of all, I've heard a lot about the vibe coding thing where you can just basically tell it what you want it to create. I mean, is how legit is that? Like, I haven't even really attempted it. Just was it like it obviously sounds really cool, but is it like, can I really create an app to do anything pretty much myself?
Yes. Yes. Now, the weakness is if you know nothing, so you can build almost anything with vibe coding today. It's absolutely incredible. A friend of mine, I'm not a professional engineer by training, but I was chatting with a friend of mine who's a CTO. So he's a hardcore engineer. He and I were chatting, and he was blown away by like what I could build in hours that would take him weeks to do. And it was like 80 or 90% the quality. Now, there's two pitfalls. Number one is the vibe coding today, it'll build something that works, but it won't necessarily think about all the meta stuff that you have to think about. So if you build a piece of software, you have to think about security, you have to think about compliance, you have to think about, does this work for people with vision impairment? How's the data transiting back and forth? Did I build a good database? It often kind of does a really bad job at that. That's number one, where it kind of smooths over the details to make it work, but it's like building a bike that works. It gets you from point A to B, but it's not a well-built bike. That's problem number one. Problem number two is sometimes it takes shortcuts that there's no way you would know what shortcut it's taking or if it's making a bad decision unless you know a little bit about coding. So I know a little bit about coding. I've coded in the past before. So sometimes I see the vibe coding AIs make really stupid decisions or spend hours doing something where I'm like, hey, you can do this in 2 minutes if you do it this way instead. So it does help to have a little bit of technical background, but even if you don't, you can actually build almost anything now, which is amazing.
So I would even be able, and the app that I build, would could it potentially go on the Apple App Store?
Yes. So I haven't built it for Apple, but I built something 2 weeks ago in about a day and a half. I'd never for Android. I'd never built an Android app before in my life. And an hour and a half later, I had a very simple fitness gym tracking application that I'd built in a day and a half. And most of that day and a half was me figuring out how to put it on an Android store.
Wow. So let's just say I wanted to build like a video editor. I mean, that seems pretty complicated to build a video editor, kind of like a what do you call CapCut or something like that, iMovie. That seems pretty complicated. Like, would I just be able to go and do that, or is it more complicated
Yeah,
than?
well, there's two ways you could do it, and I'll give the dumb way and a smart way. The dumb way is, hey, here's a video editor that I want you to tell the AI, hey, I want you to build a video editor, build feature A that needs to be able to import a video, it needs to be able to export a video, it needs to be able to cut a video, and you spend like 10 pages writing all the little buttons and functions. That's the bad way to do it. It will work. A smarter way is say, hey, I want to build a video editor, go copy what iMovie does. And it will copy 90% of iMovie, and that's all you have to say.
Oh wow. And then can you kind of add to it and be like, okay, can you
Yeah,
add
yeah.
this
So
and then yeah.
get it, like tell it to go copy iMovie or whatever. I don't know much about the video editing space. I've never done anything in video. But go tell it to copy iMovie. It'll go run for about a couple of hours. It'll build something. It'll probably be really buggy. It'll go fix its bugs. And then you can start adding new features or removing features if you don't like iMovie's features and functionality. It's incredible. You can literally get it off and running. It'll run for a couple hours. Go to the gym. Go like have a cup of coffee. Go, hang out with your kids. It's amazing.
I mean,
And
that
I
is
did
kind
this
of
for a very
crazy.
small piece of that. I did this for a piece of data analysis where I didn't want to do the data analysis. It was going to take several hours for the AI agent to do it. So I began the AI agent to, not agent, sorry, I began the vibe coder to do this analysis and went and like for a run with my kid.
Wow. I mean, that is pretty crazy. And then, I mean, is there any issue with like copyright infringement or whatever if like you literally say just copy iMovie and it literally does just copy, you know what I mean? But I've noticed that I've seen on the Apple App Store, I've noticed that I've seen like a lot of these um whether it be OpenAI or any of these companies, it'll like rip off, like literally rip off the name and put it in Apple App Store. Like I'm trying to think of OpenAI might be like a too obvious one, or like Sora or whatever. Like when Sora first came out, before it actually came out, there was all these Soras on the Apple App Store, and it's like, what the hell is how is Apple allowing these people to be basically copy not only what it is but the name too? You know what I mean? Is there some sort of copyright infringement with that?
Sure. So yes and no. Firstly, I should start by saying I'm not a copywriter, intellectual property lawyer. So take what I'm
Yeah.
about to say with a huge grain of salt, right? But firstly, it's okay for two things to have the same name if they're in different lines of business. So you can have McDonald's the restaurant and McDonald's hardware store. Okay, McDonald's is not the restaurant is not going to be able to sue my McDonald's the hardware store because they're in totally different lines of business and people are not going to confuse them, right? So you can have Sora the ChatGPT editor, and you can also have Sora, the Zelda character, for anybody who's a like Zelda video game fan. Um, uh,
But what
so
if they
that's
are
a
trying to sell it as a
okay.
AI
So
video?
copying the names then is like suable, right? Like I can't just copy your name and go into be a direct competitor of yours because that violates a whole bunch of copyright laws and typically trademark laws rather than copyright laws. Trademark is your business name. But then secondly, if I build a piece of software by literally saying, "Hey, I'm going to go copy iMovie or some video game or whatever," that's typically not allowed. I could rebuild iMovie if I wanted, doing what's called a black box approach, which is where I'm not looking at it. I'm just building it by myself in kind of a quiet black box room. That's usually allowed. It's usually not allowed to go say like, hey, I'm just going to go rip off somebody else. Lots of people do it. I don't encourage it because that's obviously stealing something that somebody else worked really hard on.
Yeah. So looking at the future, and if we have all these, anybody's able to create an app, anybody's able to go on Reddit or X or YouTube or wherever and basically promote or do whatever they want via these agentic AIs. Not only this, but a ton more. Do you think that it's kind of gonna get away from us and maybe even potentially get away from Google or OpenAI themselves to the point where they're kind of allowing people so much free access to stuff that it's just going to get out of control and they're not even going to be able to like an example would be like right now obviously you can just I could create any video I want via AI, any text I want, any picture, what almost everything you can create as AI, and then I go and I post it to YouTube and it just becomes, you would think that it would just become AI slop everywhere basically. Do you think that's going to be an issue for these companies where it's just like, and I know it's going to get better and better, but like, do you think it's just going to be almost over, like the world's going to be overtaken with AI slop kind of?
Well, maybe not slop necessarily, right? Because like the algorithms are pretty good at separating. Like if you post true slop onto YouTube, YouTube's algorithm will demote it. Now, if you produce an AI produced video that people love, YouTube will promote it. So let's go back for a
Like
second.
they don't really care whether it's AI or not. They just want it to be
They,
good, basically, right?
they want entertainment. They want views, clicks, view times, etc. So let's back up. Let's just stick with the video example. 30 or 40 years ago, or even 20 years ago, the only way somebody could make a video was you had a very expensive camera, you had some Hollywood funding, and you'd make a video, even if it's short film, right? Then all of a sudden, YouTube came out and made it very easy for people. YouTube, smartphones, and some very simple digital cameras made it possible for almost anybody to make a video. And very quickly, the amount of content expanded in the world, right? Think about what you had in the late 90s or early 2000s versus all the user produced videos and content that are on YouTube. And that's incredible. And that's because the tools of the internet, YouTube, and digital video formats and editors came out. Similarly, the advent of these AI tools, whether it be for content production or for vibe coding, basically puts a hand, enables people to do at scale, which was not possible. 20 years ago, I could have never made a video because I did not have a smartphone. I had like a old cassette video recorder, and it would be impossible to put, edit that and stick it on YouTube. Today, I can do that on my phone in 4 seconds, right? Similarly, in application or software development on the vibe coding side, up until about a year and a half ago, it was impossible for 99% of the population to code or build anything. Today, it's possible for probably like 60 or 70% of the population to build something today if you have access to the internet and like a basic laptop.
Yeah, I mean, and this is all like the plus side to it, which I am very excited for, to be honest with you, because I'm a YouTube creator, I'm a TikTok creator, so I'm using all this stuff. There is a part of me that's kind of like, it kind of feels like cheating, but it's like, you know what, like you just said, like 20 years ago I wasn't able to do this, now I am, so fuck it, you know what I mean? But in terms
Even
of
the shoemaker, right? Like
what?
almost anything that we make in humanity, like cars, right? Cars 100 years ago used to be built by people. Is it cheating now that we use assembly lines and machines? No, we get to make better cars and more people get them. 100 years ago, like 1% of the population could afford a car because everything was handmade, right? Today, because we use machines and automation, almost every American can afford a car, and that's really incredible.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. But what I'm kind of wondering is, as of right now, I'm kind of like I'm a YouTube creator. I make a little, I mean, a small amount right now, but I'm using a lot of AI. I've used a lot of AI to get there because I pretty much have to. Do you think that it's going to get to a point where YouTube's like, well, if we can just create whatever we want ourselves via AI, I'm sure they're at that point now where they can pretty much create, Google can create whatever they want now. Why cut out the middleman, cut out me, and or any of the creators, and just they'll just basically become their own, almost like Netflix, where they're what's the point of even the middleman if they can create
Well,
whatever they want, unless they
you're
want
absolutely
some
right.
sort of social media type thing where it's actually
But you're right, but it's not unique to social media and AI. And I'll give you a very silly example. Do you know what white label products are?
no, I think I've heard of them,
Okay,
but
so if you go to Walmart or CVS, right, like a grocery store, you'll see like a fancy brand of milk, and you'll see Walmart's brand of milk. I forget what Walmart's brand is called. It's like Value Max or something, right? Because Walmart about 30 years ago realized, hey, people are buying milk, they're buying Nick's fancy branded milk, but I can make that brand of milk myself and sell it for half the cost right next to Nick's. And that's called private label. And you see it in butter and milk and meat and a lot of different categories, or shampoo. Um, you'll see it in Tylenol. You'll see it in pretty like all the generic drugs. That there, you'll have a generic drug version of it. And that's because the store decided, hey, we don't need to buy from some milk company or from some potato chips company. We can just make it ourselves. Okay. And so they cut the middlemen out, or the creators, the builders of, or the makers of the milk. So what you're describing is not unique to the social media industry. And it's of course bad for a lot of content creators, because now you're right that the distribution engines like YouTube can cut them out. But unfortunately, that's been happening for decades or centuries in all sorts of other non-digital industries, where somebody realized, hey, when I don't need you and I can make it myself, I might as well make it myself and stop paying you to do it.
well, the big question is, do you think that'll happen with not only YouTube but TikTok, Sora? Do you think eventually they will
Well,
just
yes. So it is already happening. There's a bunch of platforms that are automatically posting to TikTok and Facebook and YouTube. Facebook's new platform called not
Meta
Threads.
or Meta or
I'm sorry, yeah, Meta's new platform
well, no,
called
what I meant was is it the Meta AI platform that you're talking about, or like Vibes or something?
no, what Vibes, yeah. So Meta is like Vibes is like them producing content is a lot. I have heard, I'm not 100% sure that it's a lot of the content produced there is them self-producing the content, rather than being produced by independent content producers.
Well, that's one thing that I'm like really shocked about. Is so the reason why I jumped in there was I'm using Meta AI, and it's like Meta AI has gotten really good with video generation. I mean, in my opinion, it's the best. It's free, and I'm almost kind of like I've been using it a lot to make videos, and then also they have their own Vibes thing where it's kind of like Sora, where you create it then you post it. Um, but yeah, I'm kind of like, why is this even free? I mean, eventually I'm assuming maybe they'll charge for it.
Well,
I don't.
eventually it's all going to be charged. These companies are burning billion. Every time you chat into ChatGPT, it costs OpenAI or Google or Claude like half a penny. And if you imagine billions of people are doing that every day, it's costing them a lot of money to do this. And eventually they're going to make us pay in the same way that over time Alphabet or Google started putting more ads on there. The internet was a lot cheaper to use 20 years ago than it is today. There were a lot fewer ads there, but eventually all these companies needed to make money. So yeah, they give it to you for free, which is great. And then eventually they charge you. There's actually a technical term for this called enshittification. If I don't know if you've ever heard of that.
I actually have heard of that. I don't remember where, but I have heard of that. Yeah.
It's a guy named Cory Doctorow. I forget what he became famous for, but he's some sort of internet like evangelist slash one of the pioneers of the modern internet. And he basically said, look, software companies, they make a great product, they make it free, everyone loves it, all the users hop on, but eventually they need to make money off it. And the way they do so is then by charging you once you're a captive audience. and then all of a sudden the experience on that platform degrades over time as the company's trying to extract the maximum amount of value from you. In all fairness, that like most businesses end up having to do that. Every business has to cover its costs. If I'm burning billions of dollars a year on data centers to give you ChatGPT, I need to cover that cost somehow.
Yeah, and I think that's the enchinification kind of seems to have happened with maybe like Instagram and Facebook, where the more they're trying to make money, the more, even though Instagram you can say is still usable, I think a lot of people like, because they're starting to like put like the top content at the top instead of like your friends or whatever. It's like you're starting to see shit that like you don't even know where it came from. So and then I kind of get a vibe, and I'm probably totally naive about this, but I kind of get a vibe that, and then one question I had was, could they do it through an ads way, like kind of like YouTube is, or do you think it'll be like a charge? But it seems almost like ads, like you could ask for the image and they could literally just put, or the video or whatever, and they could literally just put an ad there. It seems like that would almost be a good idea, right? As opposed to
Yeah,
charging.
well, there's lots. It's not either or. I'm sure these companies will experiment with all sorts of forms of it, right? But for at least the social media networks, their most valuable asset is your time. The fact that you spend 3 hours a day on YouTube or an hour on Instagram, not you, Micah, necessarily, but I'm saying the average American is spending, that's
Yeah.
valuable, right? Um, so, and they are, all these platforms, the social media ones at least, are really good at figuring out and experimenting with how to best monetize that time, which they now have in their grasp, whether that be TikTok or Meta or any other platform.
Okay, and I'm also kind of getting a vibe because I mean, obviously, YouTube, in my opinion, YouTube works well with ads. It's like it's not that big of a deal. You only watch like a 5 second ad, or you could just pay to get no ads. But my vibe that I get, or the like I said, I might be naive, but it's like Google, OpenAI, especially OpenAI. It seems like Sam Altman seems to be a pretty altruistic guy, and like it seems like they're really trying to kind of like maybe, as of right now, it really seems like they're trying to help people create what they want to create. Do you think I'm wrong with that? Do you think it's really just about money and eventually they are just going to get their money? Or do you think they're like the people behind it, like Mark Zuckerberg, Sam Altman, are really maybe thinking this is really great for humanity, and like everybody's going to be able to create whatever they want to create? You know what I mean? Or is it just about
So
money?
look, I'm not going to try and guess what is in Mark Zuckerberg or Sam Altman's or any of these, incredibly successful people's heads. I don't know them, and it's always dangerous to guess at what motivates people. Um, what I will say is most of these are private businesses. That means they have investors. Those investors have put billions or hundreds of billions of dollars of money behind these companies, and they do expect eventually to get paid, whether that be eventually be 1 year or 20 years. Right? Amazon's investors took about 20 years before they got paid, but then they did extraordinarily well. So I would say, look, regardless of what Mark Zuckerberg or Sam Altman wants, at the end of the day, they have shareholders and they have boards. So even if they're the greatest people in the world, and they may be, at some point they are accountable to someone. They have a boss. It is not their money that they're spending. They're spending other people's money, which means they are held accountable at some point.
Which is kind of crazy because you think at this point you hear that Sam Altman's worth billions, Mark Zuckerberg is worth billions. I mean, I know that Mark Zuckerberg actually does own a share of Meta, but at some point, when somebody like Mark Zuckerberg or Elon Musk, they're so rich they can just push out the other people and say, okay, I'm just going to do what I want.
Well, so no, like I don't know the number, but Mark Zuckerberg, I think I'm going to make up the number. Don't quote me on this. Let's say he owns like 20% of Facebook. So that means 80% of shares of Facebook are owned by somebody, a whole bunch of other people. So you can't push them away. These people are all extraordinarily rich, but they only own a fraction of their companies. Typically, most of these billionaires own between 5 to 30% of their companies. So their company may be worth 100 billion and they're worth 5 billion, but 5 billion is only 5% of 100 billion.
And you're not able to, like legally, you can't just kick them out, even if you do it. Like
Well, you
somebody like
can't. What do you like? Imagine you and I own a house together, right? I can't just kick you out of your half of the house or your 90% of the
I
house.
mean, you could potentially buy them. Like Elon Musk is probably wealthy enough to where he could probably just buy, right? I mean, no.
No, 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 no. So again, let's use. I think Tesla's worth like $1 trillion or something, right? And Elon Musk is worth $100 billion. That means there's still $900 billion of other people's money.
Oh,
So all
okay,
these
okay.
people, even though they are astronomically rich, they still are often only minority shareholders of their company.
Do you think at some point, Musk or Zuckerberg or whatever are get annoyed with these other people who are telling them what to do? I mean, it's like, why do they get to tell? I mean, I know why, because they have money involved, but it's like, do they get pissed off and be like, hey, I'm like running this company and like, you know what I mean? Like, I want to do what I want with it as opposed to having to do what you guys want with it when you guys, the people with the money probably aren't even doing much of anything, right?
Yeah, well,
You see what I'm
well, remember
saying?
yeah. So look, most of the shareholders in public companies are passive shareholders. It's like you or me owning a share of Facebook, where we have money in Facebook, but we're not doing anything. But but that's why
Yeah.
we have boards. That we have, if you're a shareholder of Facebook or Apple or General Motors or whatever, you have boards of directors who represent your Micah's interests because they know that Micah's not showing up to board meetings at General Motors or reading all the financials, but that's what the board is there for. And sure, good CEOs tend to have whether you call it, let's say, heated discussions with their boards. Good boards say like, no, CEO, you're wrong. And good CEOs conversely say, no, board, you're wrong. And they argue back and forth and they sometimes get pissed off. Right. I've been a CEO a couple of times and sometimes my board and I 100% agreed. Sometimes we disagreed. Sometimes they were right. Sometimes they were wrong. Sometimes I was right and sometimes they were right. The point being, yeah, I got frustrated when I was in that seat. And obviously, this is a much, much smaller scale than Meta, but that's okay. Good boards and good CEOs do disagree and they do get pissed at each other, but they try and at the end of the day make a good decision together.
Yeah. Okay. And then as far as the future of well, for one, I wanted to ask about the agentic AIs. Like if I wanted to go and promote my YouTube channel or whatever and try and do it in the best way possible, like you are, um, on Reddit or YouTube or wherever, Instagram, would I be able to use, not build my own like you did, but like use, are there other agentic AIs that I can go use right now and say, hey, go in, and what are the best ones to use, the agentic AIs?
Okay, so there's two ones that are really good to use. One is called N8N, and like the letter N, the number eight, and the number N, or the letter N. And basically, think of it almost like a PowerPoint or Excel platform where you can download templates. So somebody else has already built a N8N template for YouTube promotion or for making a customized Instagram reels. So you can just go either buy that or template from them, or they might even be giving it away for free. So that's method number one. It's called N8N. The second is called Crew AI. Now, Crew AI requires a little bit more code, but it allows you to do a lot things a lot more flexibly. And that's typically what I use because I'm trying to build stuff that I don't think already exists. And I like the flexibility. And honestly, I'm learning a bit more by doing it.
And I could literally to this N8N one, I can literally just tell it, hey, go in. It's that easy where it's like go into Reddit
Well,
and
you wouldn't tell N8N to do it. I think of N8N like a operating system or a computer, right? They've made it so people can build agents right on top of N8N. Somebody else has built an agent that they will let you copy. And you
okay.
basically just put in like I'm simplifying it down a bit, but you could basically copy their agent because they've decided to sell their agent for a buck or give it away for free. And then you just put in your usernames and passwords and stuff. Actually, technically your API keys, which is a fancy name for password. And then the agent is off and running. That's it. You could probably get an N8N agent started in a couple of like probably like a day the very first time you're doing it just to figure out how to use N8N. But after that, you could probably do it in like 20 minutes, get it set up, and then you don't have to think about it again. Like the Reddit agent I built, I set it up, took me about 3 or 4 days to build it because I'd never built something like this before. It was hard. And then I don't think about it. Every 2 days it runs at 11:02 a.m. I don't have to think about it ever.
But don't you like going back to the question, don't you think there's a problem with if it eventually gets to the point where anybody can do this and everybody's just putting these bots online, do you think it's going to get to a problem where half the people or more, like 90% of the people you're talking to on there is just going to be, they're already saying that there's so many bots on X and Reddit and everything. Do you
Sure.
think it's going to be a problem?
Yeah, look, eventually we'll get there, right? But that doesn't mean I shouldn't do it today. Well, it's a business opportunity, right? Like
I
eventually,
agree with you. I agree with you, but could it be bad down? I mean, if it's going to be bad down the road, then
Well,
what do we do
I'll
then?
draw
You know
the
what I mean?
example, right? Let's imagine Jeff Bezos was sitting in 1990 or 1995, and someone said to him, "Hey, Jeff, but in like 15 or 20 years, everyone will be selling everything on the internet. So why should you do this?" The right answer is because I'm the first guy doing it.
Well, no,
Right?
I agree with you, but I think there's a little bit of a difference between bots online as opposed to selling stuff in the online. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, like obviously Amazon could have 10 other companies competing with it, but when you have nothing but bots and I'm not even saying I'm not even one of those AI slop people, but nothing but bots and AI online, do you think that'll be a problem eventually? And how do you think the companies are going to combat that, where it's like you don't even know if you're talking to a real person type thing?
Well, do you care if you're talking to a real person, right? So if I'm asking for customer service, right, I don't really care whether I talk to a human being or to a robot, whether it be voice or by chat. I just want my problem solved. And a large portion of it, remember, there's basically two things people do on the internet. One, they seek information, and number two, they seek community. Almost everything that you do on the internet can be boiled down to those two things. I'm trying to find information about something, or I'm trying to connect with another human being. Um, the bots don't really change the first part of it, and they may not even change the second part of it, because if you can build a community or relationship with a bot and that makes you happy because you built a friend or somebody that's kind to you, that's okay.
I kind of disagree. I'm not. I mean, I don't want to be like a hater, but if I go on like Reddit and I think that I'm having a conversation with a person and it's actually a conversation with a bot, and the difference would be there would be the conscious aspect of it. It's like I'm actually talking to you right now, but if you were like a bot, if you were just some sort of machine, I mean, maybe
Yeah.
I wouldn't have a problem in the
But if
aspect.
if I made you feel good about yourself during the conversation, if I made you feel like a better person, happy, why is that bad?
It's kind of fake. I kind of agree with you, like really, but it's like it's kind of like fake. Like it's like um I think it matters that like you're a real person, and just like it matters that like I have a real girlfriend, you know what I mean, or a real wife or whatever. It's like I don't really want a bot as a wife. I want a real person that like understands how I feel, isn't just like kind of giving me what I want, which is essentially what the LLMs are doing. They're kind of just giving you what you want, which can be seen as kind of like bullshit. You know what I mean? Like they don't really care.
The analogy can be almost any video game nowadays, right? Video games have gotten so good at kind of tweaking the pleasure centers of your brain and giving you that reward center that used to be given by other activities in our lives, right? But technology has figured out, hey, how do we make Micah a little bit more addicted to this game by making you happier? And yes, there's challenges and risks associated with that, and perhaps people lose a sense of connection with other human beings. But conversely, for the individual, they may be happier and they may have more meaningful lives. It's not, I would say it is not my place to decide what gives you meaning in your life, right? If a bot makes you happy, that's okay. I'm okay with you, engaging with a bot and building a community with a bot. And by the way, in like
Yeah,
100 years, when AI eventually gets there, assuming AI doesn't kill us all, people will have robot friends 100 years from now or 1,000 years from now. Though, why it's going to happen? I'm not so why be too worried about it?
yeah. Well, I think that I mean, I don't really know because I don't really necessarily think that I have a problem with it, but the addiction aspect can be bad, like with Instagram or whatever, where it's like, and people are already saying that. I don't know how true the stats are, but like, kids are more depressed or whatever, more anxious because of social media. So I could see that being a problem. I don't know, like I said, I don't know the stats and I don't know how true it is. I kind of tend to agree with you. If it's helping me, I'm fine. I'm also older, so I don't know how it's affecting kids. But anyways, moving forward, it sounds like you aren't a doomer when it comes to this stuff. But how do you feel about I think that book came out by somebody who said if they build it, everyone will die, or you know what I mean? I don't know if you've heard about that book. Somebody else actually brought it up to me and I hadn't heard of it. But well, I mean, just in general, go moving forward with AI, what do you think the world's gonna look like 10, 20, 50 years? And then also, who do you think is going to win out in terms of Google, OpenAI, Claude? At this point, do you think Apple's might be cooked? I've heard Apple might be cooked because like they're so behind on the AI thing.
Yeah. So there's some, let me trying to answer the both questions. So I don't know what the world will look like when we achieve general artificial intelligence, like an AI that can do anything and think of anything and can interact with the real world. And it's not just trapped in a bottle, right? Um, that will be a world that is unimaginable because all of a sudden we have something that can do everything that a human being can, but cannot just do it as acting as one human being, but that thing can do the work of a billion human beings or 6 billion human beings. So that fundamentally changes our purpose. And people worry about the job stuff, but the day we achieve generalized AI, you don't even need a shareholder. You don't need that AI does not need a CEO boss, does not need an Elon Musk to control it. So that's kind of just a world that I can't even imagine, whether it be good or bad. That is, it's beyond my ken to understand. So I'll avoid making too much of a prediction, other than saying all the assumptions we make about what makes our society work, it has for the last 10,000 years of our history, all that goes away, because we have one thing that can do everything for everyone and replace everyone or support everyone. Let me jump to the second half of your question. Who's going to win the AI race? So
Real
look, there's
quick,
four or
sorry to
five.
cut you off. Sorry to cut you off. But what will the humans do at that point where the AI is doing everything? Just whatever you want, pretty much, or
I would say in a world where AI doesn't kill us, I think humans will do whatever they want, but kind of in a Wall-E world, that's not necessarily good for us. I'll say kind of one kind of spiritual thing, which is I think one of the most important things in any human being's life is where you draw meaning. And there's typically historically, people have drawn their meaning from some combination of four things: family, community, religion, and work. And over time, if AI takes away all of that, if AI makes us not believe in a God anymore, and if AI takes away our work, and we're not interacting with our community because we're interacting with AI, all the four pillars of what has made a human being have meaning in their life over the last 10,000 years of our collective history goes away. And that's really scary to me. Not that the AI will kill us, but we won't have a purpose to exist anymore as a species, like a spiritual or meaning behind our lives. That terrifies me.
so it doesn't terrify you that it'll kill us all? That doesn't terrify you?
This is going to sound kind of funny. I'd be less worried about it being an AI killing me and more worried about an AI taking my reason for wanting to be a human being, right?
Yeah.
Wanting to wake up in the morning.
Well, if we're looking at that possibility, it's kind of like when people say that, oh, if it doesn't kill us, it's like if that's even like an option, wouldn't we want to like slow things down and be like, wait, we don't want it to kill us, so let's put the brakes on it. You know what I mean?
So yes and no. First of all, the incentives to put a brake on it are really, really difficult. It's really difficult to stop innovation. People have tried it in fascist countries around the world. Thought finds a way to like people find a way to build cool things no matter what, unless you literally enslave them or stick them in a fascist country. That's number one. Number two is we don't even know what slowing down something means, because we're trying to do something that the moment we make an AI that is generally intelligent, it can do something that no other that a human being couldn't at a velocity that a human being can. Specifically, it can self-improve. And so no matter how slow we get there, the moment we get there, we can't understand how quickly it can self-improve and what the implications are. If there was an old movie called Evolution, I don't know if you ever saw it, terrible sci-fi movie. Basically, some alien bacteria land on the planet, and because of it's kind of like Superman loves, the rays of our sun. These bacteria love our atmosphere, and they evolve at like a billion times faster than we do. So we took like a billion years to come from bacteria to human beings, or a million years to come from monkeys to human beings. These bacteria are evolving like a billion times faster than us. So they do in a day what we did in like 100 million years. And the implication being like, we didn't know, the whole point of the movie is we don't know how to deal with something that 10 minutes later is fundamentally different than what it was 10 minutes ago. And that's a problem that, like, no matter how you move slowly you move on AI, we're going to run into that problem the day AI becomes, the minute AI becomes generally self-aware. It will
And
evolve
that
faster.
and
Yeah,
that is the singularity, right? Where it evolves so fast that we can't even keep up with it. So
correct.
yeah,
Yeah, and the problem is once it hits the singularity, we're not smart enough to understand where it will go, and it could go in a very positive direction, it could go in a very negative direction, but no matter how slow we are to get there, we have zero control about what happens after the fact when we hit that singularity.
doesn't that scare you though? I mean,
But it's unavoidable. It's like I use the analogy of if a meteor is coming towards Earth, would I be sad that, everyone I love is going to die, that I'm going to die? Yes. Would I be scared of it? No. I'm not scared. I tend not to be scared of the inevitable.
Yeah, but I mean, the thing is that I feel like the government, just like it has cracked down on certain things, they could crack down. It could say, you know what, I'm not saying it should, but I'm saying that the government could be like, no, no more AI. If you do it, we're going to throw you in prison for the rest of your life or whatever. You know what I mean? Just like
So,
drugs or heroin or whatever.
yes and no. The and and this ties back to the other question you asked me, is like, who's going to win this, whether it be Gemini or ChatGPT.
Yeah.
The crazy. So I'm going to tie those two questions together. So 2 years ago, the only way you could build these AI models is if you had $1 billion in data centers and electricity and like the world's greatest scientists. Today, there's guys in, there's men and women working out of a bedroom with a few hundred or a few $1,000s that can build an AI as smart as ChatGPT was a year and a half ago. So it is not requiring a lot of resources now to build this. So even if every government in the world said AI is illegal, which by the way is itself, there's going to be some government that doesn't outlaw it, right? They would have to monitor every single person who has a computer on the planet and like a few $100, because you could like I could build a very, very simple ChatGPT right now in a couple of days by myself. And I'm not, the technology has gotten so much simpler in our understanding of how these systems work, is that literally random people like me who are not machine learning engineers can build decently smart native AI systems. Like I'm not talking about building an agent. I'm just talking about rebuilding a very simple version of ChatGPT. I could do as non-professional, and professionals can do much, much better. And there are examples of where a few guys are building something that competes 95% as good as ChatGPT today, which is incredible.
Yeah. So who do you think will get there first? Google, OpenAI, or do we maybe we don't even know? Maybe it's some company that's not even
That
out
I
yet.
don't know. You're now asking about kind of frontier, like hardcore technical stuff. I don't know. They're all racing forward towards it for the entire reason of like hitting. If you hit the singularity, regardless of what happens to the species, you kind of won the game. If nothing else, for your own ego.
So they basically want to hit the singularity. Google and all those
Yeah, because if they
OpenAI.
don't do it, someone else will.
No,
There's
but I
the
mean that it
fundamental.
does. That's the whole thing, though. Is it doesn't even matter. Like you say, like they won the game by hitting the singularity, but it's like we could be either dead. If we're not dead, we don't know what's going on because everything's moving so fast. It's like we're in a
Like
black hole or something.
you're absolutely right, but the challenge in the world of business is, look, I don't know what happened when I make the singularity, right? Whether it be good AI or it be Terminator AI, I don't know what happens when I make it, but I do know what happens when somebody else makes it. If they make a Terminator AI, it kills us all anyways. If they make a smart AI that they can control, they kill me. Not kill me, but they like destroy my business. So it's better that I own the Terminator than somebody else owns the Terminator. That's
Yeah,
like the rational business decision.
and
You want to
then
be the one that makes it. Just on the off chance that it's a good AI, you want to be the boss of that good AI.
when it becomes general intelligence or even potentially super intelligent, right? When it becomes general intelligent, though, at that point, will it have? Does that mean it'll have its own consciousness and it'll be thinking on its own, um, and it'll be making its own decisions?
Well, that's generally the definition of general intelligence. General intelligence, again, there's not a formal definition that we can say just here's these 5 checkboxes. If it makes it, it's general intelligence. But a couple of the things that a general intelligence needs to be able to do is observation, meaning it needs to be able to take information from outside itself, whether that be through digital eyes, whether that be through a data pipe. It needs to be able to see what's happening outside, see in a not a physical sense, but see in a sensory sense. Number two, it needs to be able to um, interpret that information. Number three, it needs to be able to realize its own existence or have some form of self-consciousness or introspection. And number four, it needs to be able to or decide on that information. So yes, like just by virtue of being defined as a general intelligence, it will be able to decide and it should be conscious. Otherwise, it's not a general intelligence.
Okay, wow. And then at
Getting a
the
little technical there.
no, no,
Sorry.
no, yeah, no, 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 it's fine. It's just crazy. And then do you think we're kind of actually getting to the point where we could potentially live forever or, extend life? Like I don't know, you probably know that Brian Johnson, who wants to live forever. Do you think we're getting to the point where soon where people will be able to live a lot longer?
So I don't know Brian Johnston specifically, but I am familiar with the people who are kind of biohacking with the idea that we're getting to the point where we might be able to live forever. Um, I don't know whether we're there yet, like whether the technology is there yet, but I would not be surprised if sometime. I'm total swag. We're way outside my field of expertise, so this is total swag guesstimate. I would not be surprised if we were somewhere. Somebody is born during my lifespan who is like the world's first immortal human. Whether that be someone who's born already 30 years ago or someone who's born 40 years from now, I would not be surprised at all if God were to come down and say, "Hey, this is the first immortal human being."
But then that's if the AI doesn't kill us, right? So it's like if the AI
Correct.
lets us live, then we can live forever. But and then not only that, but it won't technically be immortal, right? Because at some point the whole universe just kind of the sun will
Sure,
explode or whatever.
there's the heat death of the universe. Yeah,
Yeah,
there's the entire heat death.
yeah.
I'm talking from natural causes. Like when I say immortal, I don't mean that a plane crash won't kill you, but rather old age and disease doesn't be the cause of death anymore.
Okay. And then lastly, if I'm doing a YouTube channel, or I am doing a YouTube channel, I'm trying to make more money on it. What do you think the best way for me or anybody out there is to make money via social media, ideally YouTube, maybe using AI?
Sure. I would say any good creator now should be using AI to do two things. Number one, they should be using AI generated content, whether that be 10% of their channel or 99% of their channel, that I don't know, but they should be using AI creation tools that are making videos, that are editing videos, whatever, and posting for them.
You
That's number
almost
one.
have to at this point, right? Because
Well, lots of people aren't. Lots of people are just still using
yeah.
authentic content, but that one guy making authentic content is competing against 9,999 people who are using 100% automated video content, right? I don't do this myself. I'm not a content creator, but I could make an avatar of myself and have a YouTube channel that is 100% AI avatar of me, right? Talking about
All
anything from fish to AI.
like almost all the time. Like it could just be going.
It could be producing, you know, 20 hours of video a day and publishing 20 hours of video a day. It could be insane, right? Depending on
Do you think it would be
how much.
legitimate enough for where people at this point can tell that it's fake?
Yes, I think that the technology is there where it's photorealistic and in like, or it's 98% is good. And like, who cares if I have six fingers instead of five, right? Like some of the AI still screw up hands, but that's okay. And the second thing is like, sorry, by the way, one thing I don't think actually most people care that much about AI content as long as it's entertaining to them. But then the second use of AI, going back to your question, is number one is for the content creation part, but secondly for the content analysis part, the A/B testing, the content analysis, the figuring out what works. People are still looking at that and saying, "Hey, I made a video about fish that really took off, so I should make more videos about fish." AI can do that thinking and analysis about what worked really, really effectively too.
So if I wanted to do that and I wanted to use an avatar of me and just kind of run it, but it's like why do it myself when I could just have AI do it? Is there any company or app or whatever you want to call it that is doing that currently? That
There's dozens. The one that I'm most familiar with is called Hey UGC. Like the letter U, the letter G, the letter C, but there's like 30 of them out there. And all they're doing is basically plugging a pipe into Sora or Google's one, which is called VO, or and then just adding a cool little graphical user interface so that you don't have to talk to Google's like code, and instead you can just do it on a web browser. So there's dozens of companies doing that. And the cool thing is, going back to N8N, you can actually plug N8N into one of these things, so it is automatically doing all of it for you, including the data analysis part.
so I mean if I'm doing this or you're doing this, you could essentially just make money on YouTube without even barely doing anything. It
There's
sounds
thousands
like.
of people already doing. It's not just if there's thousands of people already doing this today, where 100% of their channel, the monetization, the analysis, the content creation, the publishing, the promotion is all being done by AI.
Can you give me one name of one of the companies that does the avatar just so I
Yeah, so Hey UGC,
okay.
HEY UGC. I'm not affiliated with them in any way. They're just the ones that I've seen advertised the most. But there's like, if you just Google automated video creation or automated video creation, you'll find like the first 20 Google results are all pretty good.
Do they have is it an iPhone app, or do you have to use like a computer?
Uh, I've only checked their website out. I don't know whether they have an iPhone app. But I definitely know they have like a web app, which you could use off your phone, by the way, off your web browser.
Okay. And then if you can just do this, and I don't know how much money you would be making doing this, but you could essentially have an AI essentially kind of make you money without you doing much of anything. It's kind of like at this point, why even be a CEO? It's just because you make more money as a CEO, or you like being a CEO more, or
Well, so again, there's lots of reasons why people show up to work, right? Making money is one of them. Like you, I still have to pay rent. I have a mortgage. I've got a kid, right? So money is certainly a reason why I show up to work. But I like I like showing up to work kind of for two things aside from money. Number one is I like building things. I like making good products or services that's achieve some need. It's like it makes me happy to know that I helped fulfill some need of society. Number two is it's competitive. I like going out there knowing that I'm winning against my, competitor companies in whatever industry I'm in. That's fun to be like out there competing every day. So that's why I show up to work. But yes, you could, there's lots of people. I know I won't name who it is, but I know one person right now who's making like 16 or $17,000 a month just after paying for all the, the APIs and after paying Gemini and VO and Sora, they're making like 50, 16 or $17,000 every month from just an automated YouTube and Instagram channel.
it's literally just automated. It's literally just running. Like they're not really
Automated.
doing much of anything.
They're not doing anything at all.
And YouTube doesn't even care that they're doing this, that they're just automating their
I don't
channel.
know whether YouTube cares or not, but this is a very close friend. It is a real person. They built this. They spent like 3 weeks building it. They knew quite a lot about code and how to build these systems, but they built it. They set it up. They did a lot of tweaking because initially their system sucked. But once they got it running, they don't do anything. Every like week or so, they go and make little tweaks to make their AI smarter, switch to a newer model. But beyond that, they're working like, I don't know, 5 hours a week.
Wow, and this is something that like anybody can do. Like I could potentially do this, right?
Yeah, but remember, there's other people trying to do it too. So it's not like free money. You have to figure out how to do it, number one. And number two, well, that's the easy part, figuring out how to do it. But number two, you have to build something that's actually interesting, right? If you make a YouTube channel about marketing, let's say, let's use real estate. There's 4 million other guys or gals that are making YouTube channels about like real estate or about Pokemon card trading or whatever, right? So you have to either figure out a new content area or make sure that your AI is building content that is interesting in a crowded space.
Yeah, and do you feel like Gemini and any of these LLMs are actually at this point better at spitting out the info than most humans? Or do you feel like humans
They're
are
good.
still
Yes. Like
yeah.
I'll use me as an example. I think I'm a pretty smart guy. Any video that anybody can create off Sora is better than anything I could create, no matter how much time I spent at it.
Yeah, which is crazy.
Right.
Yeah. And Sora isn't even that great at this point, but you're right. Like I couldn't do what Sora does, but yeah. And then so lastly, really quick, I wanted to ask you about poker. I don't know how much time you have, but
I'm
obviously,
good for a couple of minutes. Yeah.
okay. Obviously, we don't have a whole lot of time to go into the poker, which I wanted to go into, but the AI just is so interesting to me, and you knew a lot about it. So, I guess what's your poker life like? What stakes are you playing? Where are you playing? Are you mostly playing like GTO style? Like, are you using like AI solvers? What's your poker life like?
Sure. Yeah, so I play both live and online. I used to play a lot more live before my kid was born last year, and then nowadays I only get to play like once or twice a month live, and I play a little bit of online. Online, I'm typically playing lower medium stakes between, let's say, 5, 10 cents or 25, 50 cents, or let's say $50. So like low stakes. And then live, I'm typically playing like 1, 3 or two, 1, 2, 1, 3, occasionally $2, 5 which are low stakes. That's what my local casino offers. I'm not flying over to Vegas because I've got a job and kids and stuff. So
Yeah, I
that's the
saw
typical.
one really quick. I saw one post. I thought you said 1025 or whatever that is, 1020, but that may have been maybe that was cents. I don't know.
So 1025, I would play cents online, which is
Okay.
actually poker starts getting quite competitive somewhere around 25, 50 cents online. Because then
I'm
if you're playing,
surprised that I'm
sorry?
surprised you're playing that low because um
Well,
Yeah.
the thing with poker is, right, like whether it be live or online, once you there, first of all, like let's imagine I had enough, I was a billionaire and I wanted to go play 100, $200 live poker. There's like only four casinos or something in the world that are running that level of limit. And
Yeah.
I'm not going to fly to Vegas or Macau or whatever. I've got, that I've got a life to live. So
Yeah.
that's number one. There's not a lot of bigger games. Secondly, when you start playing at the bigger games, people tend to be really, really good or really, really crazy. Um, right? And like, even if you're better than somebody, if they're just willing to play around with $100 million or $1 million, like it's hard to win when somebody's just like literally pulling slots on a slot machine. And I'll draw a funny example. At very, very low stakes live poker, most people are there to gamble. Okay. They're not there to win money. They joke that they're there to win money, but they're really there to have a good time. And what that means is they're willing to gamble. They're willing to play, for anybody who knows about poker, the chance of hitting a flush after the flop by the river is around 33%. 1 out of 3 times. And that means you're going to lose 66% of the time. And you should never take that bet. But lots of people with an ace high flush draw, they're like, oh, I'm going to hit it 33% of the time. That's great. And they're literally gambling in a bad lottery ticket, but they're okay because they're having fun. And 1 out of 3 times they've hit their ace high flush and they feel really good that they beat somebody else. The problem with that is the way casinos make money, as you probably know, is they take a rake. So every time you gamble, the casino makes about 10 to 15%. So like when you gamble, it's not you 35% of the time, the other guy 65% of the time. It's you 30% of the time. It's the casino 100% of the time, and then you guys 55 and 25% of the time. So you guys together don't add up to 100% because the casino took their cut. So at low stakes, it's actually really, really hard to win. And low stakes live, I mean, online's a different game, but low stakes live, it's really hard to win because the more people gamble, the more volatility there is. And the way the casino makes money is by rake, which is a tax on volatility. So the more people gamble at low stakes, the more everyone around the table loses because the casino makes more money every time you do that, which is something people don't think about. But that's actually the biggest reason why people lose money at low stakes. It's not because they're playing bad. It's because they are gambling. And every time you gamble, you make both yourself and your opponent significantly worse off.
That's interesting. I didn't think about that aspect. Like you obviously think that if people are gambling, it's better for you because they're gambling and you're gonna win. But
That's only true if there's no rake. The moment you add, like, if we were gambling, just you and I with no, sitting across the table with no casino, and I'm ahead 66% of the time and you're ahead 34% time, I'm going to gamble with you all day because in the long run, I'm going to take home every dollar you have. I'm going to own your car and your house. That's great. But if every time we play a game, somebody else is taking 10 to 15%, which is what happens at low stakes, then every time we gamble, we're both worse off after each round significantly. And after 100 rounds, we both have zero and the casino has all our money.
and by gambling you mean playing crazy, right? Like you're saying the more
Well, no, by gambling, I mean taking a bet that you know is a stupid bet, but is fun to take. So let's again use let's imagine I'm ahead and you have an ace high flush draw. You're going to win 35% of the time. Okay. It's pretty basic math, but you're going to do that because 1 out of 3 times you're going to win and that makes you feel good.
yeah.
But by you taking, if there was no rake, I would love if you gambled like that. You taking a bet where I'm going to win 65 cents of your money is great. When you do that and the casino is taking 10%, that means after this round of money, it's not that I won 65 cents and you won 35. It's I won 55 and you won 30. So we lost 10 cents. And the next time we play it, we lose another 10 cents. Every time we play it, we lose 10 cents.
So are you almost saying that it's better not to gamble and to play almost tight and kind of like
So at low stakes poker, well, there's many reasons you want to play incredibly tight. If you're playing well at low stakes poker, you're only playing about 4% of hands. So that, and give
which
it,
kind of sucks, you know what I mean? But it's like
which
you don't
sucks. Yeah, I'm not saying, yeah, you're not,
yeah.
if you want to, I'm not saying it's fun. It's not right. But
No,
basically
I see what you're saying.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, like in a normal live casino table, you're typically playing about, or the dealer's putting out about 30, 35 hands an hour. That means if you're actually playing to win, you're playing maybe 2 hands an hour total. Otherwise, you're just folding, 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 folding. It's boring as hell.
Yeah, I
But it
mean,
is the
like
right.
who? But it's like who even might? I know that that's how you're supposed to play, but it's like who wants to do that? Who wants to go to a casino, sit there for 2 hours, play one hand every 2 hours, right? It's boring as
One
hell.
hand an hour. One hand an
One hand
hour.
an
It's
hour,
not.
and I know
So I
I know
do
that's
that
what
all
you're
the
supposed.
time.
But it's like I've had people everybody tells you this, play tight, play only,
Yeah.
the whatever the hands you're supposed to, the pre-flop range or whatever. But I got sick of it because I was like, this isn't fun enough for me. And so I kind of just say fuck it and basically gamble essentially. But it's like I feel like even though I'm gambling, I'm still feel like I'm better than the other players. Like I might pre-flop raise more, but I still feel like I have an edge over, the rest of the table.
Well, so I'll give a fun example. So and sorry, I had to go plug in my laptop. It was running out of power. But I'll give an example. So when I go play poker, I'm the guy who's playing, 2 hands an hour. Everybody calls me tight. It's not because I'm actually tight. If I was playing online, I would be playing totally differently. Or if I was in a tournament, I'd play totally differently. In tournament, I'm incredibly loose and aggressive because there's no rake in a tournament. Because the rake really changes how you should play. People don't think about it, but the rake is the single most, it's actually more important than your skill at poker at low stakes. People don't appreciate that. It is way more important that you avoid the rake at all costs every single time. That's the most important fact at low stakes. But when I go play poker, I went last weekend, not this past weekend, but last weekend. I played for like 10 or something hours, won a small amount of money. I was playing like 1 or 2 hands an hour. I was sitting there with a book or with a video game, playing my video game. And if it wasn't like a really, really good hand in position, I just fold it. So the right decision, like pocket nines in tournaments, I'd be playing under the gun. In low stakes cash, pocket nines is toss it in the trash, maybe limp.
That's so rough to like fold pocket
Whereas
nines.
like with pocket nines in a tournament or higher stakes, I'm 3-betting or even shoving,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. Where were you at?
Um,
Did you see you were in Vegas or?
so no, I play in a couple local casinos in. So I'm based in Philadelphia. I play in a couple local casinos around here.
Okay. Yeah, I'm actually going. I haven't really played live in a while, but I'm going to Vegas the end of this week with a doctor friend of mine. So that should be fun. But yeah, so my experience with it is basically, to be honest with you, I don't really know where I'm at, but like live, I seem to do good. There was a period of time where I was doing pretty good live, but then online, I've never done good. But then I play in this on a normal online, I've never really done that good. But then I play with a friend group who isn't very good, but there's no rake. So it's like not only are they not very good, so I've won a good amount, but like I think because of what you're saying about the rake, it's just absolutely killing me. So it's I don't even really know what to do besides playing this in a friend's game or something. When you do play online, what sites are you playing on? Are there specific sites that are good
So
or?
the one in Pennsylvania, which is where I live, is PokerStars. So that's what I use.
Unfortunately, we
Uh,
don't have that in California. We
yeah,
have Club
I'll give
WTBT Gold, which is like that new one.
I'll give one quick example. Just so let's imagine low stakes. You're sitting down with $200, right? Which is kind of a typical average stack size, and there's 8
On
people around the table.
online or
No, live.
okay.
Okay. So let's imagine you sit down with $200, and there's 7 or 8 folks around the table, right? You each sit down with $200. To give you context, the casino is taking on average $130, excluding tips you give to the dealer every hour. So $130 every hour is flowing off the table. So you add in tips to the dealer, it's around $165. That means one full stack out of your 8 stacks every hour is disappearing off the table, not to somebody else on the table, but to the casino. And that's what you have to that's what you have to beat that just to break even. Think that's why it's really, really hard to make money at low stakes unless you are insanely tight. In a way that you asked me about GTO earlier, at low GTO only works if there's no rake. The entire premise or math behind GTO, and I'm again a mathematician by training, is GTO doesn't just assumes that there's zero rake. So GTO works really well for tournament early stages, and it works really well for when rake is insignificant, such as mid and high stakes live poker or online poker. It works really poorly for any situation where rake is more than about 2 or 3%, which is true of all low stakes.
And you said you are a mathematician by training.
So my undergraduate degree is in theoretical math and physics.
Okay, crazy. Do you know about quantum physics?
I do. I took several classes in QM way back when.
I've wanted to have somebody on to talk to me about that, but that's just crazy.
That I'm way out. That I'm not qualified. I haven't thought about quantum mechanics in like 20 years now. So
Okay. Because I was gonna be like, can you come back on and talk with me about it? But if you don't,
I'm glad to
that's fine.
chat with you about like physics in general, but I'm not qualified in any way to talk about quantum mechanics or any form of physics or math today.
Okay.
Because
No,
I
yeah,
just
not
not about
definitely not today, but we don't have the time.
yeah.
But so in terms of poker, it sounds pretty dire, like to be honest with you, by what you're saying because of the rake. Is there any way to beat what advice would you say to beat it? Try and
Sure.
find
Well,
maybe home games that don't have a rake or something, or
it depends what your goal is. And for most people, including mine, when I go to play poker, I'm not going there to make money. I'm going there because it's like a peaceful place, away, kind of. It's a little bit of breakaway from my family and friends. I can be sitting there reading a book or playing a video game without my son crying behind me. Um, so most people go there to gamble and have fun. And if that's your goal, you should go and gamble and have fun, right? Assuming you do so safely and you're not a gambling addict. Um, if your goal is to make money, right? There's kind of 3 or 4 things you can do. Number one, and most effectively, is play insanely tight. Again, like you should only be playing like 4 or 5% of hands in live poker. Online, you can play a little bit more because it's for a variety of reasons. But live, play like 4 or 5% of hands. It's boring as hell, but that's the right thing. Number two, be very people underestimate position. So like if you are under the gun, you basically should be folding anything less than ace queen suited. So you can play ace queen, jacks, ace king, aces, kings, queens. That's it. If you are under the gun, everything else you should be folding. Now, if you are on the button, you can play a lot more, but people underestimate just how tight you have to play, especially in those early positions. Number three is go learn a bit of the math of the game, right? Like so many, there's all these people I play with that their entire thing is, hey, I've been playing poker since before you were born. And I've always wanted to say to them, but you've been losing money since before I was born. Like, you go learn how to play the game, right? There's like, and I'm not talking go take a math course or, those fancy courses that, like, just learn the basic odds of what poker is and what a good bet is. Like, the thing that I hate slash love is people think winning the hand means you won. You actually can win a hand and lose the game, which is, again, using that ace high flush. An ace high flush hits 1/3 of the time. But that means 2/3 of the time I lose my money. So I should not be chasing my ace high flush ever, which is crazy. Like you can win, I can hit my ace high flush, but I actually lost.
well, I think you can call a bet with an ace high flush, right?
No, the opposite. You can't. It's the opposite. You can, if you're chasing a flush, you need to be cognizant of 3 things. Three things. Actually, I'll limit down to 2 things. Number one, you need to be cognizant of if I call this bet and my bet hits, will the guy pay me off 3-1 or more? Okay. So if they're betting, if their bet's like $50 and they only have $75 behind, you should not call it because they will only, it's people think about, hey, I can only lose 75 more dollars. No, you can't make $150, which is what you need to call that bet. That's number one. Number two is you have to think about what is it? Number two, you have to think about what's called fold equity. So remember, you only hit 33% of the time. That's really bad. You always want to win 70 or 51% of the time at least. So you should not be calling with your ace high flushes or any flushes really. You should be check raising or 2-betting with them. So if you bet with and I've got the ace high flush, I'm never going to call. I'm going to re-raise you 100% of the time because that means I win 33% of the time when I hit my flush and I win 15% of the time if I can get you to fold, which gets me to 51%.
Yeah, well, that makes more sense than just a straight up fold. Like to get them to raise and get them off the hand makes more sense, right? Than to fold. But how come you see all the time pros calling with ace high flushes? They call it all the time. Like it.
In a multi-way, I'm talking heads up, in a multi-way pot, well, they're calling with ace high flushes because the other person has a much deeper stack. Remember, the first thing I said was they have big, deep stacks. At low stakes, most people don't have deep enough stacks for it to ever make sense to call. You have to check raise or 2-bet. In pro poker, they're playing with stacks that are 200, 500, 600 big blinds deep. There, you can do a lot more fancy plays, such as just calling. And usually calling is still a bad idea. And it's a mistake that a lot of pros make unless you're playing multi-way, in which case it's actually better to just call.
And would you say that, I mean, would you say that most, I don't know how much you know about the pros, but like people like Doug Polk, do you know who Doug Polk is?
I've heard the name, but I don't follow pro poker too much. I ran into what is it? Phil, not Phil Ivey, the other Phil, the other Phil. He was at our casino that I was playing at a few weeks ago. Um,
Phil Locke, or
Helmut.
Phil Hellmuth. Yeah, he was
Yeah.
like my favorite
So,
player back in the
so
day.
that's the only person that like I've ever met or encountered or like, and I certainly don't follow online. I don't follow the pros at all.
Okay, so you wouldn't know if like when you're watching them if they're doing the correct play or not or whatever.
So I could like if I was to watch them, I could tell you when somebody's making correct play or not. Now I don't watch them, so I can't tell you, hey, Phil Hellmuth or Phil Ivey made a mistake here. But if I
Yeah,
was sitting and watching them with the table, seeing their hands, I could tell you, given a stacks in about 80% of scenarios, it's actually pretty easy when you're not in the moment and stressed out to figure out, hey, is this the right decision or the wrong decision, even for a pro.
yeah. But so you were saying the best way to win is either go and play extremely tight, meaning 4% of hands pre-flop, which means the rest of the time you're folding. Are there any other alternatives to that, or is that pretty much?
And what I said is that's true for live low stakes poker, right? You can move up in stakes, which means you need more money. You need to be willing to take that risk. But you also need to be better because as people start playing higher stakes, they tend to be better on average. Um, or you can go to online, where online people play a little bit better. So and the rake is quite a bit lower, so you can play more loosely there. And then the third, this is really hard, is you can increase your skill. Because remember, to make money, you need to overcome the advantage the house has of 10%. Okay. So that means I need to be at least 10% better than you just to break even. So another way I can overcome that tax is I can just get more than 10% better than you. I can get 30% better than you or 40% better than you. That's hard though, because you actually have to then go study the game a lot.
That I mean, yeah, 30% better. Because I mean, I've heard that most of the time, like 10% is really good to be better than the table. So it's like
10% is
if
huge.
the rake is 10%, which I don't even think it is. I think the rake's like 5% online, right?
Online, it's lower. Yeah, I'm talking 10 at live low stakes casinos. The rake is between 10 to 18% at most
Yeah.
places.
But like online, I've heard is that if you're 10% or what, I think I forgot exactly the terminology, but like if you're 10% better than the table, that's good. So if you're 30% better than the table, you're like an expert. But would you say that there's any type of AI helper that can, if you're playing online, that you
Sure,
can?
so well, so yes, there are. There's lots of AI tools. To be clear, they violate the term. I don't use any, and they would
Yeah.
violate the terms of all these sites. But there are AI tools out there that people can use. You can also, while you're playing, you could just ask ChatGPT what should I do here, and ChatGPT will tell you the right decision.
Oh,
So if you
really?
wanted, yeah.
Well, I mean,
So if
but
you
would you be able to do it in time? Because you'd have to like lay out the whole hand like really quickly, right?
depends how fast you type. Yes,
Yeah.
but yes, you
So
or you could do it live.
ChatGPT will literally tell you the like kind of like not necessarily GTO, but the GTO play in
Yeah,
any
and it
given
doesn't need all the
situation.
information. It doesn't need to know that you were under the gun in eight-handed versus a tight knit and you have a stack. It doesn't need all that information. It will make a smarter decision, but you could literally just tell it, hey, I'm under the gun, ace jack offsuit. What should I do? And it'll tell you fold.
Oh, wow. That's
Ace
pretty
jack
impressive.
offsuit, by the way, the right decision under the gun is to fold in most poker. People would love ace jack. It's actually a terrible hand under the gun. It is, if you look at the GTO charts or whatever, it's a fold. It's not even a marginal decision. It's straight up fold ace jack offsuit under the gun.
Yeah, that's crazy. And that's kind of like the
That's
realistic.
not even playing tight, by the way. That's not even playing tight. That is just the GTO optimal decision, even if there was no rake.
And that's also nine-handed, right? What if you're six-handed or less?
Um, at six-handed, I think ace jack offsuit. Don't quote me on this. I think ace jack offsuit six-handed is a marginal raise, meaning you could fold. It could be a fold. It could be a marginal raise, and you do that to balance your range. But in nine-handed or eight-handed, it's a fold under the gun.
And would you say that you make a decent amount of money playing poker, or is it just purely for fun?
So I'm good enough that I could make a living off of playing poker if I wanted. Not, I wouldn't be a billionaire or anything, right? But I could make a solid living doing it. And I tend to win both online and live poker consistently. So
how much would you potentially make it playing 1-2, 1-3 per hour if you're really good, like you, I guess.
me specifically, so if you're really good, you're probably making about $30 an hour. Me,
Playing
I'm
one,
not
two.
really, or 1-3, let's say
Yeah.
$30 an hour playing 1-3. 1-2, I can make I can make about somewhere in the mid-teens playing 1-2 if I wanted, and a little bit more playing 1-3. And I'm good, but I'm not great. And I regularly make mistakes.
And it sounds
So
kind of like the
so let's
main.
say you can make $15 an hour. If you are a good poker player at 1-2 or 1-3, it's not too hard to make $15 to $20 an hour without being, you don't even have to be professional level. You can just be, if you just take away all the stupid mistakes people make, such as playing more than 5% of hands, playing out of position, not or paying the rake, and you can become a winning player, and it's not too hard to go from a winning player to a $15 an hour player.
Yeah, and there was a time where well, I don't think I was ever really playing that tight 4%, but there was a time where I really wanted to play poker for a living, and I was playing tight, or at least, tighter. But like now when I go, I just don't have the patience for it. I'm like, I just want to have fun, and so I like raise a lot of hands, especially like in position. I'll like raise a lot of hands, and and then just try and take it down essentially like later on. Um, but what about online? What would you say your win rate is on, or how much per hour you make online playing those stakes?
So dollars is much lower because it's much, when you're playing 5 cents, 10 cents, or 25, 50 cents, dollars is much lower. Um, I think my win rate, so online you typically measure by big blinds per hour rather than, sorry, big blinds per 100 rather than big blinds per hour. So my big blind rate per 100 hands is around 12, which makes me like a top 1% player online. Sorry, I win about 12 big blinds per hour at low stakes online, which makes me a top 1% player online. Top 2%, actually, top 2%.
Yeah, so it's about $12 an hour playing.
Not $12 an hour, 12 big blinds per 100 hands I play.
So how much would that be
So,
per hour, do you think?
oh, this is hard. Let's see, 100. I have to do some math. Let's imagine 4 tables at a time, 80 table hands per hour. That's 320. So I'm playing 3.2. 3.2 times 12 is 36 plus 2.4 is 38.4. 38.4, about $4 an hour.
Oh wow, so online's not real great. But I mean, I would think. See, I've people say that like 50 cent a dollar and dollar 1-2 online is tough, but it's weird because like whenever I've played it online, it doesn't seem like, maybe I'm wrong, maybe I'm naive, but it's like it doesn't seem that it's that tough. But like I'll still end up losing. But I kind of feel like it's the rake thing. Like I feel like I'm playing too many hands, and like I feel like I'm. Do you feel like dollar 50, 50 cent a dollar or 1-2 online is that tough? Like I feel like you're probably good enough to play
Yes.
that.
I can consistently win at, let's say, 25, 50, 15, 30 cents. Somewhere around $1 to $2, I go from being an obvious winner to being an obvious loser. So yes, I become an obvious loser, and it's not because I am playing more loose. It is because I am less good at thinking about implied odds and far less good about bluffs and bluffing situations.
So you think these guys online who are playing 50 cent a dollar, dollar, $2 are really that good? I mean, I would think that you would be smart enough. Like you're smarter than.
Well, it's not just smarter, right? Remember, poker is a game of kind of three things: math, luck, and psychology. And using just math, you can absolutely dominate the low ends of the game, right? Which is what I typically do. Um, as you start moving to the higher skill, some people are, everybody's got a baseline level of math, right? No one's stupid who's playing like professional poker. But then you have to have a baseline understanding of math, and you have to be pretty good at the psychology. And then the truly elite players are both amazing at the psychology and amazing at the math. And I'm not amazing at either, right? I haven't invested the time to do it because it's not my job.
Yeah, so you really just think at that level they really are just that good online.
Oh yeah, 100%. It's not think. I know that they're that good. I played with I played at a charity poker tournament where my old boss bought us tickets for like an expensive charity tournament, and there was there was a well-known player there. I won't name him because but there was a well-known player on there, and he was materially better than me, right? Not on understanding the math, but understanding when he could take advantage of the math on the psychology side.
Do you think there's something intuitively going on with these people, or do you think they're just studying it, or
No, he just, well, this, I can't say about everybody, but this guy is famous for just studying. He outstudies his competition. That's what he's famous for.
was it Jungle Man by any chance?
It was not. It was somebody else. But it's a name that if I said, you would recognize. And he's not a buddy of mine. I just played with him once at the table, and we played together for like 3 or 4 hours at this tournament, sitting next to each other. And so we were chatting a lot because it was not a serious, it was a charity tournament, so we weren't like being super competitive. I learned a lot from him, but he definitely outstudies the competition. I Googled him later, and he's very fit. He's well known for just studying like crazy.
Okay, it's interesting. And then how many tables do you play when you play online?
I play 4 to 6 typically.
Okay. And so, I mean, I guess back to
And
the,
by the way, sorry, I do have to go in about 5 minutes, Micah.
okay, okay. So back to the, we'll end it with this question. If I'm somebody, I would say I'm average. I've been playing for a long time. I'm not a math genius, but I know the game pretty well. I want to try and beat the game online, ideally online, but live too. But I like online more because I don't have to drive to the casino and all that. What are your, is it mainly just the play extremely tight thing is the best? Are there any other tips?
I'd say do 3 things. Number 1, play extremely tight. Look at what the right numbers are. Like most people are playing like 2 or 3 times as many hands as they should. That's number 1. Play way tighter than you think you should, and it's kind of boring, but that's the right decision. Number 2, play only in position. There's almost no situations where you want to be out of position. And number 3, go study the basic math of the game. Understand like the back of your hand, what the odds for flushes, straights, flop trips are, sets are, what the payoff odds are in there. There's like 10 or 20 numbers that you should just know. For example, the chance of flopping a set is 1 out of 11, so it's about 9 and change percent. However, your opponent needs to have about a 15x stack size for you to set mine. People think that, hey, if I get my stack, it's great, but you actually have to hit your stack and the other guy has to stack off against you. You have to hit your set and the guy has to stack off you, and he has to have a big enough stack that it makes sense, and that's typically 15 times the bet. So if they bet $15 and they don't have 15 times, let's say, imagine they bet $20. 15 times $20 is $300. So if their stack is not $300, you should be folding all your sets. I mean, folding all your pairs before the flop. So it's crazy, but if they bet $20, you basically should not play any hand at all for your set mining.
Yeah, I think that's the hardest part about the game. Is the hardest part isn't necessarily to be the best, but the hardest part is just to play. You have to play so tight that it's like it just makes it not fun. So if I'm somebody who just can't play that tight, I find myself I start playing tight, but then I find myself
play poker for fun, right?
Yeah.
If your goal is to make money, right? Like depends what for like go talk to poker pros. Most of them don't enjoy playing poker. It is a job for them, right?
Yeah.
There's one guy I play with. He's actually a pro online. He makes a really good living playing online. But when he comes to the casino and plays live, he's screwing around. He's not trying to make money. He's playing loose, right? He's there to have fun and have a couple beers with his brother. When he's playing online, I've sat behind him. He's very tight, very focused. It's a job. He's not there to have fun.
Yeah.
Right. Sometimes there's certain things in life you can do that are both fun and make money. There's other things in life that you do because they make money or because they're fun. For me, like when I play poker online, I could probably do better than I am, right? I'm making a small amount of profit, but I'm playing for fun. It's entertaining. I'm watching TV on one screen. I may be coding something on one screen. So I've got 3 screens going, code on one, Netflix on the other, and poker on the other. I'm not trying to like make money off of it.
That's crazy. You're like really multitasking. So I mean, basically, if you find yourself not being able to be tight enough, you're pretty much not going to win unless you can. What if you can find a game with no rake? If there's no rake, then can you open up more? Or?
You can play looser, but you're still like, if there's a game with no rake, then your VPIP, the percentage of hands that you play will be around 20%. So it's still, you're folding 80% of hands still, which means that if you're playing live, playing 20% of hands an hour means you're playing 5 hands an hour instead of 2. So it's still not a lot.
Yeah.
And I'm not just talking raising. I'm saying even calling. You should only be in 20% of hands total for any reason whatsoever if you want to make money, even if there's no rake.
And there's just no matter how good you are, there's really no way to beat that folding pre-flop.
I mean, if there, I wouldn't say there. It is technically possible. Everyone else at the table has to play incredibly poorly. Because when you're playing against somebody, you have to at a table. There's three things you have to beat. You have to beat the rake. You have to beat the opponent's skill, and then you actually have to beat something that's called a combined skill of the table. So imagine that you are 1% better than everyone at the table, but they're all playing a lot of hands. That means just randomly somebody's going to be hitting their flushes or straights or sets, right? So you not only have to beat the one guy who you're trying to beat at the table, but you also have to beat the combined volatility skill of 7 people. I actually did a very fun math paper on this about a year and a half ago. I tried to get it published, but no one would publish it, where I talked about, hey, it's actually pretty easy to be better than one person. It's really hard to be simultaneously better than the other 7 people at the table combined.
Yeah.
Even it's actually funny. You could be better than every single one of them head to head, and yet worse than the 7 of them combined, which is a very crazy thing. I can be way better than all of them individually, but way worse than them all combined. And
That's
that's
why
even
like
before the race.
that's why like heads up makes sense in some situations, just because at least if you know you can beat that one guy, you're good. But if you're up against the whole table, yeah, it's like a minefield. You know what I mean?
It's not just
you
a
know.
minefield. That you're actually strictly worse off due to something called implicit collusion. It's not cheating the way people talk about collusion, but there's this weird dynamic that happens when multiple people play a hand. They make everyone worse off, but the person they make the worse off is the best player at the table.
Yeah, which
So
is crazy.
if
Yeah.
you are playing multi-handed, being the best player is actually worse for you, which is crazy.
Yeah, I ultimately kind of have. I don't want to say I've given up as I still play, but it's like I mostly play for fun. I kind of gave up just because I couldn't deal with the patience, and I had like a tilt problem back in the day. Too. Not as much anymore, but I would end up tilting off all my money like almost every time. But anyway, so yeah, and one good thing that I would say about online is at least online.
Sorry, I have to run in like 2 minutes, man. But
Okay.
but go
Okay.
on.
Okay. I was just gonna say real quick, online at least you can multi-table and it's faster. So the last question I'll ask is your your business, everything, anything you want to plug for you, and then I always ask anything you're into as far as movies, music, TV shows, podcasts, whatever. But I mean,
Um, For nothing in terms of movies or music right now, nothing too interesting. I'll plug two things. Number one, if you go to my personal website, nickjain.com, I've actually put up a bunch of free poker tools there, things that you could actually use live if you wanted or online. So it tells you like, hey, when should you play? When should you squeeze, etc. So nickjain.com is my personal website. There's a bunch of cool poker stuff on there. There's also some other stuff like, when you'll be a dad or stuff. There's all sorts of just fun stuff that I built. And then for my business, if you go to sacredgrounds.nickjain.com, if you happen to be in the funeral home industry, it's a free tool that you can use to run your funeral home.
okay, great. Yeah, I saw on one of your posts about poker, and I think that you're giving like really good practical advice that a lot of professional poker players who are giving advice aren't giving. It's like, you know what I mean? It's like I don't they're not being practical enough with it like you are, which is like you got to play really tight. So I think that's good. Thanks for coming on, Nick. You were a great guest, honestly. Like you pretty much answered all my AI questions that I had. So and poker too. Thanks,
Thank you so much
guys.
for having me. Have a
Yeah.
great one. Bye-bye.
Bye, guys.